Parvati Bhagini, you can start chanting.
Okay, ma'am. Hari Om. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamrutavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashaadhyayini Ambatvāmanusandadhāmi Bhagavad-gīte bhavadveshini Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindayata Netra Yena tvaya bharata taila purnaha prajwalito jnanamayah pradipah prapanna parijataya stotra vetraika panaye jnanamudraya krishnaya gītāmrutaduhe namaha Sarvopanishado gavo dogda gopalanandanaha Partho vatsa sudhir bhokta dugdam gītāmrutam mahat Vasudeva sutam devam kamsa chanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadratha Jala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalyagrahavati Kripena Vahani Karnena Velakula Ashwatthama ghora makara Duryodhanavartini Sotirna khalu pandavairananadi Kaivartakah Keshavaha Parashariyavachas sarojamamalam Gītārtha-gandhotkatam Nānākhyanaka-kesaram harikatha Sambodhana bodhitam Loke sajjana shatpadairaharaha Pepiyamanam muda Bhuyad bharata pankajam kalimala Pradhvamsi na shreyase Mūkam karoti vācālam pangum langhayate girim yat krupātamaham vande paramanandamadhavam yam brahma varunendra rudramarutaha stunvanti divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidussura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Hari Om.
Hari Om Bhagini. Just have a couple of minutes. Okay, I anyway had a small announcement to make, so maybe I could do that now. We had actually done the chapter 1 and chapter 2 in just before we started the webinar classes in an audio mode. So right now we have tried to integrate the PowerPoint presentation with the audio mode and put it up on the Sanskrit from Home.in site. So in case anybody wants to go through chapter 1 and 2, we've already completed chapter 1 and we are in beginning of chapter 2. We'll try and complete chapter 2. So in all there will be about 25 classes which will be like a pre-recorded video. So if you want to go through them, you could go through them. So I just wanted to make that announcement. So now we'll get into the class. I hope all of you can hear me well, because again, I'm testing a high-end mic today with a webcam. So please do let me know if you can't hear me. सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. ॐ परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्. So in the 10th chapter of the Gita, as the very title indicates, Lord Krishna is talking about his glorious manifestations in different places, which are called vibhutis or glories. So when Lord Krishna claims his glories, one may wonder that whether Bhagavan is doing this correctly, is it right? Because in the 13th chapter, we are going to see that humility is considered to be an important value. Here, Lord Krishna is claiming everything wonderful, right, in this world is me, right? So will it not amount to some kind of arrogance on the part of the Lord, or boasting about oneself? Looks like somebody apparently asked this question to Swamiji. So I did not think about it this way, but it was interesting to know that people did think about it this way. So somebody asked, because self-glorification is self-conceit, and how can Lord Krishna do that? So we should remember here that Lord Krishna is not talking about the glory as an individual person, right? As an individual person, everyone is limited. Therefore, glories, if at all they are there, they will also be limited only. So when such a person claims all the glories which cannot belong to him or to her as an individual, it becomes a false claim, right? So that false claim becomes arrogance. Here also, if Lord Krishna is claiming all the glories as an individual, then it will not be a fact. We should remember that Lord Krishna here is talking from the standpoint of his real nature, which he knows as a Jnani. So the real status as Brahman, the Jagat Karanam, and all the manifestations are from one Brahman alone, with different Nama and Rupa. Just as one gold is in the form of all ornaments, one Brahman alone with a different Nama and Rupa is appearing in all glorious forms. Therefore, all glories belong to Brahman, otherwise called Ishvara, right? So the glories are not a false claim, right? It is exactly like the gold can claim that all the ornaments are my glories, or the wood can claim that all the furnitures in this world are my glories. So similarly, from Brahman standpoint, Lord Krishna can claim all are my glories. So our scriptures go one step further and says, even a jnani who does not identify with his individual body-mind complex, even such a jnani who identifies with the real nature of Brahman, that jnani also can claim all the glories exactly as Bhagavan claims. And in fact, in several Upanishads, you will find the jnanis, after receiving this knowledge, they also declare the same thing, right? So, if you see in Taittiriya Upanishad, right, very interesting shloka, mantra, Jnani says, Aham annam, aham annam, aham annadah, aham shloka krita, aham asmi pratamaja. Like he keeps on praising himself, right? This actually Taittiriya Upanishad, this ought to be chanted in a particular way, and I'm not attempting that consciously. So if you see in this slide, you will see these 3, 2, etc. written here. It signifies, people who are interested, it signifies the basically the longer swaras, the plutas, which is 2 and 3 syllables long instead of 1, right? So it is meant to be extended, right? For instance, if you would say aham anna do, and then aham anna do, wherever there's 2, you will stop for 2 syllables, slightly elongated, right? So, and then of course the special symbol which is here, it is ahagum, right? That's a Vedic usage, right? Ahagum, and then you will say shloka krita gum. Wherever that symbol is there, you call it the special symbol and you pronounce it as gum, right? So this is from Taittiriya Upanishad, where a jnani actually says that wonderful, I am the food, I am the food eater, I am the combiner of both, I am the eldest, the Pratamaja of the creation, right? I'm born before the gods, I'm the center of immortality, right? He who gives me, right, preserves me in this manner alone. Basically, I am everything, right? I occupy the entire universe, the effulgence of the sun, etc. And who is saying this? It's a jnani who says, all these are my glories only. And when a jnani says this, we must remember that a jnani is invoking his higher nature or Paraprakriti, right? And in Kaivalya Upanishad, right, we have another jnani claiming, right, which is very often repeated by Swamiji, Mayeva Sakalam Jatam, Mai Sarvam Pratishtitam, Mai Sarvam Layam Yati Tad Brahma Dvayam Asmyaham, right? So everything is born in me alone, everything is based on me alone, everything resolves into me alone, and I am that non-dual Brahman, right? And again, you see another verse which is quoted here, which is from Kathopanishad, right? So, no, I think this is also from Kaivalya Upanishad, verse number 20. Okay, so thus every jnani in the Upanishad claims all the glories exactly as Lord Krishna. So what Lord Krishna tells is, hey Arjuna, if you also get this knowledge, you can also join me. Lord Krishna will never become jealous. In fact, Lord Krishna is telling every Gita student, right, that you must be able to claim all these vibhutis as your own vibhutis, right? But when we use this word claim, we must use it in the appropriate meaning, right? It is not, otherwise it can become arrogance, right? So Lord Krishna has got that wisdom, therefore he claims. And so in this list of glories, that Krishna was enumerating. We had actually seen up to verse 24 in the last class, where he said, "O Arjuna, know me to be Brihaspati, the foremost among priests, and I am Skanda among the commanders, and I am the ocean among the reservoirs." Right? So now continuing, verse 25. Maharshinaam Bhriguraham, Maharshinaam Bhriguraham, Giramasmekamaksharam, Giramasmekamaksharam, Yajnanam Japayajñosmi, Yajnanam Japayajñosmi, Sthavaranam Himalayah, Sthavaranam Himalayah. So, among the great Maharishis, especially the Saptarishis, which we remember generally in Sandhya Vandanam, or you also come across in many stories, right? It goes, this list is big. Gautama, Bharadwaja, Shandilya, Jamadagni, Vashishta, Kashyapa, Atri, Bhrigu, right? And sometimes this list varies a little bit. So, glory of Bhrigu is given in all the Puranas. You might remember that he even tested the Trimurtis themselves to find out who is the greatest one, right? So, to test them, how great he must have been, right? So, also stories are there, and there are lots and lots of stories about Bhrigu, right? So, in fact, Swamiji recommends in the whole of Vibhuti Yoga, you come across so many different Puranic stories. At least you should know the background where Krishna claims, I am so and so, I am so and so, etc. Right? So he says, maybe it is better that you buy a Puranic encyclopedia. There is a Puranic encyclopedia. So I thought I should just talk about it, right? And because we have so many Puranas, 18 Puranas and 18 Upapuranas, remembering all their names, right, is very, very difficult, right? And each Purana has got thousands of verses. Now, Skanda Puranam has got around 25,000. I think Skanda Puranam in particular has 85,000 verses. So it is impossible, right? But there is a book which gives all the stories in all the Puranas in alphabetical list, right? In English. So you just say Bhrigu and you go to that page, you can find all the Puranic references and 2 lines about the character. The character itself was being discussed. Right? For instance, Durvasa, Bhrigu, etc. You will find there, right? Then we are going to see Jannavi, Bhagiratha, all of that, right? So this is called the Puranic Encyclopedia. It's published by Motilal Banarasi Das, right? And I just figured out that I have that book at home, so I thought maybe I should just show it to you. It will get inverted, but at least you can take a look at it. Hopefully you can see it. It's a real fat book, and it is around 1800 or so, right? So in case you are interested, you can pick up that book from Motilal Banarasi Das. I thought since I'm speaking about it today, I can just show it to you also. Right? So Maharshinam Bhriguraham, I am Bhrigu amongst Maharishis, and Giramas Mekam Aksharam. Giram means among the words. All the words are basically very sacred in our tradition because words are capable of revealing the objects. Therefore, words are sources of knowledge and Saraswati represents knowledge, right? So that is why Saraswati is also called Vak Devi, right? Therefore, all words are sacred, and all words means both worldly words as well as there is the Laukika Shabda as well as the Shastrik Shabda or the scriptural Shabdas, right? So all of them are very, very sacred, right? So because there is Saraswati in all of them. So here Krishna says, among those sacred words, which is the most sacred one, right? Giramas Mekam Aksharam, Ekam Aksharam. That word which has got one syllable. The monosyllable word is the most sacred. What is the monosyllable word? Ekaksharam. That is, Omkara is supposed to be Ekaksharam, right? greatness of Omkara is described in all the Puranas and all the Upanishads. In fact, we saw it in 9th chapter, if you remember. Pitahamasya jagataha mata dhata pitamaha vedyam pavitram omkaraha riksama yajurevacha. Vedyam pavitram omkaraha. So there in the 9th chapter, right, I talked about one glory of Omkara as given in Taittiriya Upanishad. And what is that glory? It is that essence, right? It is the essence that is extracted from all the Vedas. So the first extraction gives Gayatri Mantra. We saw this actually. I'm just reminding you. The next level of extraction gives Vyahriti Mantra. Gayatri Mantra, you know, Vyahriti is Bhuva, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, etc. And the next level of extraction is Omkaraha. Therefore, Omkara is the essence of Vyakriti, which is the essence of Gayatri, which is the essence of Veda. That means essence of the essence of the essence. Swamiji says it's like taking the first coconut milk, the second coconut milk, the third coconut milk, etc. Right? So that's Omkara is the essence of Veda. So, and here Swamiji relates another reference of Omkara, very interesting reference, and you may recollect what we saw in Tattva Bodha, so I thought maybe I should speak about it now. In Mandukya Upanishad, we have a particular mantra. Om ityedad aksharam idagum sarvam tasyopa vyakyanam bhutam bhavat bhavishyaditi sarvam omkara eva yachanya trikala tadyomkara eva. Right? Here it talks about the glory of Omkara in this manner. Omkara is a composite letter, right, which consists of 3 letters, A, right, U and So the first letter A is the first sound that the human being can produce, right? So A is the first sound that any child produces, right? A, right? So that's why the mother tells the child A kaatu, right? Which means that's the first sound that the child understands, right? So, and then, right? So they actually only English doesn't have A, because A is required for pronouncing anything. Even in umbrella, we use U, right? Which is not even connected. So A represents the sound A, which is not represented by an alphabet in English, right? So anybody who understands any of the Indian languages will be able to relate to this, right? So A is the first sound, right? And then you have the last one, right? When you close your mouth, it is right? So that's the last sound that we can produce. So any other sound in any language you can produce will exist between what? Between A and right? So they are the 2 sounds and all others are intermediary sounds. Thus, Omkara has got first sound and last sound and all the intermediary sounds represented by U, right? Therefore, A, U and represents the entire alphabet and Om represents the entire alphabet in all the languages, right? So all the words in all languages, right? They're all made up of letters only. So Om represents all the words in all languages, right? And when you say all words in all languages, it represents what? All the objects in the world are represented by words and words represented by alphabets. So therefore, according to Mandukya Upanishad, Om ityed akshara, right? Aksharam, idagum sarvam bhutam and bhavishya, bhavat bhavishyaditi, right? So therefore, once you say Om, you have referred to the entire creation. Therefore, Om represents Vishwarupa Ishvara, right? Therefore, Omkara is presented in the Mandukya Upanishad as a symbol for Vishwarupa Upasana, right? Only one point we must remember, though Omkara contains A, U, Ma, right? We don't pronounce them separately, right? Because in Sanskrit grammar, we have a lot of Sandhi rules. So because of that, you have to pronounce it only as Om, right? The Panini Sutras, if you see, one entire chapter is dedicated to Sandhi Prakaranam, right? So it is very, very important that we pronounce it only as Om, right? And since Omkara represents Vishwarupa Ishvara, It is considered to be the greatest mantra, right? Representing God. God is also one, right? So Vishwarupa Ishvara is also one. So Giramasmekam Aksharam, I am an Omkara among words, right? So interestingly, you may recall, I'm going to show you the slide quickly. Now, we saw Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna when we were doing Tattva Bodha, right? So I just pulled up that slide. So let me quickly go over this, right? So we saw Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna, right? On the Shariratrayam or the Vyashti side, right? This is Vyashti and this is Samashti. So Vyashti is the human body, right? We saw this. Now, here what this represents is, yeah. So basically here Omkara represents the three letters which are there actually represents Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna, which is very useful for meditation, right? So you will see that Vishwa is represented by A, Taijasa by U and Prajna by M, right? So Amatra is Turiyam Chaitanyam. The silence between two Oms is the Chaitanyam Turiyam. So there is a method by which you do Upasana around Omkara. Omkara Upasana is very, very famous. I'm not going to get into this, right? So here it is important to note that Giramas Mekam Aksharam. I am that Omkara here. And Yajnanam Japa Yajñosmi, right? Yajna is worshipping the Lord, right? So Ishvara Aradhanam is called Yajnaha. There are several Yajnas, right? Kaika Yajnas, Vachika Yajnas, right? Manasa Yajna, right? So all of them are Yajnas. All types of Yajnas will give material benefits as well as spiritual benefits. So I just thought I'll quickly show you the varieties of Yajna. Yeah. So we saw this in chapter 4, where Krishna spoke about the 12 yajnas and very detailed, right? Yajnas. So many Atma Nivedana Yajna, Daiva Yajna, Vishaya Bhoga Yajna, etc. Right? So we saw them in detail in chapter 4, verses 28 to 31. Right? So therefore, Lord Krishna says, Yajnanam Japa Yajñosmi. Right? I am the Japa Yajnaha amongst the Yajnas. Right? And then the last one he says is Sthavaranam Himalayaha. Sthavaranam, among the mountains, I am the Himalayas. Therefore, Meru Shikari Namaham that we saw 2 stanzas earlier, we can take as a special mythological mountain, or the North Pole mountain we can take as Meru, and here we can take this as Himalayas. I am the Himalayas amongst mountains. Continuing, Ashvatta Sarva Vrikshanam, Ashvatta Sarva Vrikshanam, Devarshinam cha Naradaha, Devarshinam cha Naradaha, Gandharvanam Chitrarataha, Gandharvanam Chitrarataha, Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi, Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi. Among all the types of trees, many sacred trees are mentioned in our scriptures, especially in Vishnu Sahasranama, Nigrodaha, Ashwattaha, etc. Right? So many trees are mentioned as sacred. Now Lord Krishna says, among the sacred trees also, right? I am Ashwattaha, meaning a fig tree or a peepal tree, or in Tamil they say Arasamaram, right? So everywhere we have an Arasamaram or Ashwattaha, and then we also have generally a Ganesha also there, and then we do Pradakshinam around it, right? So they say this tree has fantastic quality in purifying the atmosphere also. It retains liters and liters of water. So from health angle also, it is supposed to be a very great tree. That is why they kept Pradakshinam around Arasamaram, because then we will be breathing that air, right? So multi-purpose they had, like from Purana angle also, this was a very, very important tree. So Ashwatthah is supposed to be a tree which has Trimurtis in that one tree itself, right? So there is a shloka, Mulato Brahmarupaya, Madhyato Vishnurupine, Agrata Shivarupaya, Vriksharajaya Te Namaha. So my salutations to the king of the tree, whose root is in the form of Brahma, middle is in the form of Lord Vishnu, and the top is in the form of Lord Shiva. So Ashwattha Vrikshaha is called Vriksharajaha, greatest one, right? So when you do Pradakshinam to Ashwattha, you are in reality doing Pradakshinam around the Trimurtis, right? So next time you go to the temple and you go around the Ashwattha tree, do remember that you are actually going around the Trimurtis, right? So therefore, Lord Krishna claims, among all the trees, I am Ashwattha Vrikshaha. Right? In the Upanishad also, there is reference to Ashwattha in Kathopanishad, right? Urdhva Moola Madashakam, and in 15th chapter also we will see that, right? So then Devarshi Namcha Naradaha, right? Rishis are divided into two groups. Those rishis who are on the earth, and Devarishi means rishis, the celestial rishis of Devalokas. So among all the rishis, previously he said, I am Bhrigu among the rishis. There he was talking about the rishis of the Bhuloka. Now Devarshinam Madhye I am Naradaha. Naradaha Asmi. So Narada is well known in all the Puranas. Without Narada, there is no Purana. And generally he is known as the one who causes quarrel or mischief, right? But through the quarrel, always he has got some important message to communicate. Therefore, Narada, the word, right, itself means Naram Jnanam Dadati iti Naradaha, means a giver of spiritual knowledge. Now this Narada gained knowledge from Sanat Kumara Rishi, and in Chandogya Upanishad, in the 7th chapter, there is a dialogue between Narada and Sanat Kumara. And Sanat Kumara is supposed to be an avatar of Lord Subramanya himself, right? So the Upanishad itself says that, right? And so Lord Subramanya is the guru in the 7th chapter of the Chandogya. And interestingly, Narada approaches Sanat Kumara as a disciple there, and he says, I've got all types of knowledge. In fact, all the varieties of sciences are listed there. Right? I've got all possible degrees with all the various alphabetic letters, right? I am a PhD in so and so, I know this science and all of that, right? But still, I am a miserable human being. My samsara has not gone. Previously, I was an illiterate samsari. Now, with so many degrees, I'm a doctorate or many doctorate samsari. Samsara does not go. Who says? Narada says in the 7th chapter of Chandogya Upanishad, right? And he says, I have heard that the only solution to the human problem is Atma Vidya, right? So then Narada asked Sanat Kumara, may you please teach me Brahma Vidya, right? So very beautiful mantras are there in the Chandogya Upanishad. From that it is clear that Narada himself is a jnani, right? And as a jnani, he gives knowledge to all. So therefore, Devarshinam aham Naradaha asmi, right? Then Gandharvanam Chitrarataha. This is again based on a Purana, right? There they talk about several higher lokas, right? Called heavenly worlds, right? And Yakshaloka, Gandharva Loka, Kinnar Loka, etc. Exactly like we have LIG, MIG, HIG, flats, etc. Right? So they don't use the word nowadays, of course, but there was gradation, right? So there is supposed to be an area called Gandharva Loka, a loka exclusively dedicated for art, music, dance, painting, full of those kind of artistic sciences. So all the artists will go there, it looks like, right? Therefore, it is called Gandharva Loka, and exactly like the December season in Chennai, all through the year you will have lots of music, dance, etc. And there is a leader there, right? The ruler. He is called Chitrarataha. The very word shows that he has an extraordinary vehicle. Rataha means vehicle, right? So Chitram means Vichitram, an artistic one, right? So thus Chitrarataha is who is called the Gandharva Raja, right? That I am, right? In Mahabharatam also this Chitraratha comes in a particular context, in this context, right? Then Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi. Among the Siddhas, right? Siddha means what? People with extraordinary powers, miraculous powers. Our Shastra talks about possibility of extraordinary powers, and 5 different methods have been talked about for getting extraordinary powers, right? Mani means gems, right? Mantra means mantra, then Aushadha, herbs. 4th one is through yoga, and of course 5th one is through jati or birth, right? Extraordinary birth due to Purva Janma Punyam, you can have Siddhas. We see sometimes, right, in TV also they show us that some people eat glass, right? And there are also others who can, pour acid on themselves, nothing happens, right? No, ordinary people can't do those things, right? So because of some Purva Janma, unknowingly a person gets these fates. So this is called Siddhi. Those who have got natural Siddhi is called Siddha, right? Janmadve, from birth itself. And among all the Siddhas, right, all the varieties of whichever way they have got Siddhis and have become Siddha, that is a person who is Siddha Yukta, he becomes Siddha. Among all those Siddhas, I am Kapilo Munihi, right? The great Kapila Rishihi, right? Continuing. Uchchaishravasamaśvanam Viddhi mam amritodbhavam Viddhi mam amritodbhavam Airavatam gajendranam Naranam Chanaradhipam Naranam Chanaradhipam. So here Lord Krishna is referring to a famous Puranic story, which is the Amrita Matanam. Today I am telling a lot of stories because it is very relevant in Vibhuti Yoga. So maybe a few of you are aware of it, but I'm assuming that it might be worthwhile reminding all of you, because otherwise the shlokas by themselves don't make meaning, right? So the good thing is, if you want, you can pick up Amar Chitra Kathas and read the full story, because each half of a line in this verse, right, indicates one kind of story, Puranic story, right? So here, the Puranic story that is being referred to is Samudra Matanam, churning of the milky ocean by Devas and Asuras for attaining Amritam. Of course, this is a symbolic story only. The milky ocean with white color represents our mind only, which is made up of Sattva Guna, which is represented by white color. Our mind has got extraordinary potential, right? And even our brain, according to the people who research the brain, say we are only using 5% or 10% of our brain power, right? So much potential is there which we can tap. And tapping the potential is indicated by churning of the milky ocean. Even the study of Vedanta is another type of churning only, right? Which we see in Kaivalya Upanishad, right? There is a verse 22 there. Atmanam aranim kritva pranamam chottararinam Jnana nirmatana bhyasat papam dahati panditaha. Through all the studies, we are only churning our mind, and every scientist is only using his brain, right? All the meditators are again tapping the mental capacity only, and this is indicated by churning. And by Samudra Matanam, Devatas and Asuras wanted to do the churning and attain the highest goal called Amritam. Amritam represents immortality or moksha. Not only we can churn and attain Amritam, but so many other worldly things also can be attained. So worldly powers also we can get, right? So during the Samudra Mathanam, we got lot of things, objects and people. So Lakshmi, Kaustuba gem, right? Parijata tree, then Sura, right? Dhanvantri, Chandrama, all of them we got, right? Airavatam, etc. Right? So 14 wonderful things are listed there at the time of churning. A list is given by Kalidasa also, and it's a very long list of all the 14 things, right? So Uchchaishravasam is a wonderful horse, right? That also came out of the Samudra Mathanam, right? So I am that Uchchaishravas Ashwa, right? I am that fantastic flying Ashwa, right? With extraordinary powers. They don't run on the road, but they can fly also. That is Uchchaishravas. Another one is Airavatam, right? It is very interesting to note that in the day before yesterday's episode, right, of the Krishna, when the Govardhana was being lifted by Krishna and Indra was very angry and Indra's Garva Bhangam was happening, he came in the Airavatam, right? Which is the elephant, the special elephant, right? And of course, along with the elephant, Indra took Airavatam, he took the Apsaras also, right? And along with them, that the Kaustubaratnam and Dhanvantri and all of them also came out of the churning, right? The Lakshmi Devi came, poison also came, right? And this is to indicate that if you do not know how to churn properly, wrong ideas will also come, right? And Vishnu was really smart. He took all the wonderful ones, right? Like Kaustubaratnam, he took Lakshmi Devi, and Shiva was left with what? Right? He was left with poison. So a poet writes a humorous shloka. Again, Swamiji's Niti Shatakam, recently he spoke about this verse, right? And very interesting. He says, from this story, what we know is you must dress up well, right? And dressing up is important because Lord Vishnu dressed up well. He got Lakshmi Devi, and Shiva did not know how to dress up properly, right? He used sarmambaram and ash, etc. Therefore, Samudra Raja gave him poison only, right? The verse is very nice. It goes like this. Kim vasasa neti vicharaniyam vasapradanam khalu yogyatayaha Pitambaram vikshya dadau swakanyam charmambaram vikshya visham samudraha. Right? So very interesting and nice shloka here. So by seeing the Pitambaram, Samudra Raja gave Lakshmi Devi to Vishnu. Charmambaram vikshya visham samudraha. He gave poison to Shiva. So Lord Krishna says all those wonderful things, right, are me only. Whether it is Uchchaishravas the Ashvaha or Airavatam the Gajaha, it is the horse and the elephant. With the Mamritodbhavam, right? Amrita Bhavana Udbhavam. So during Amrita Mathanam, they were born, right? Naranam cha Naradipam. Among the human beings, I am the greatest one, or the king, the Raja, the king. Continuing. Ayudhanamaham vajram, Ayudhanamaham vajram, Dhenu namasmi kamaduk, Dhenu namasmi kamaduk, Prajanaschasmi kandarpah, Prajanaschasmi kandarpah, Sarpanamasmi vasuki, Sarpanamasmi vasukihi. So again, Ayudhanam aham vajram. Ayudhanam, among the weapons which are talked about, I am the powerful weapon Vajram, which is used by Indra for killing the powerful Asura named Ritasura. Again in the same serial day before yesterday, Indra was wielding the Vajra and it looked very odd because it is made up of bones, right? If you remember, for Vritasura Vadam, the Vajra Ayudha was made out of bone of a rishi called Dadichi, who has done so much tapas and so much power was there vested in his body. And Indra went and asked for his help. And Dadichi immediately sacrificed his body and asked Indra to take the body and the bone out so that he can make a Vajrayudham out of it, right? So this story is generally quoted for talking about organ donation. Organ donation, should we do or not, right? Always there are questions. So many people give this example. Dadichi started long before, right? He donated his body for creating Vajrayudham, right? So that powerful Vajrayudham used by Indra, Lord Krishna claims, I am that. Ayudhanamaham Vajram Dhenunam Kamadukh. Kamadukh is another name for Kamadhenu, right? Kamadhenu means what? The holy cow which can give everything, right? So it can, you just have to milk and you have to wish and it will give you, right? Kamam dokti iti Kamadukh, right? So unfortunately now it is not available, a Kamadhenu, right? So therefore he says here, I am the Kamadukh, right? Among Dhenus, right? And Dhenu, interestingly, is a milk yielding cow. In Sanskritam, there are different terms used for different types of cows. A milk yielding or milch cow is called a Dhenu, right? And we use a special term for that, right? Then next, Prajanashchasmi Kandarpaha, right? Kandarpaha is the Manmata or the creative power. So the creative power, both in the gross sense as well as in the subtle sense. In the grosser sense, the creative power means the procreating power in all the species of living beings, right? Which is an extraordinary power which we cannot do artificially, right? It is a unique power, right? This is called Kandarpaha. The instinctive desire in every living being to propagate its own species is called this procreative power or Kamaha and the desire. And going to the subtler level, our intellect, which is unique to human beings, has got creative power. Because of this creativity alone, right, we can build homes, etc. And animals can build their, like you can see the birds building their nest. The honeycomb, right? What a beautiful design, right? It is made by an insect, right? So, and when you're going to build a house and you start looking at various things, you see hundreds of, doors, hundreds of doorknobs, hundreds of tiles. All of them are come from the creative power, right? So Prajanaha is the creator and the procreator. Prajanaschasmi Kandarpaha, right? So I am that procreating power, right? Sarpana asmi Vasukihi. Among the Sarpas, I am the Vasuki. Again, described in the Puranas in the Samudra Mathanam, right? Vasuki is that big, what do you call, the serpent, right? And it's more like a python, right? So Devas and Asuras wanted to join, right? It's like a coalition government, you know that it can break anytime, right? So they always had their own fights and they could not decide again, right, whether they should use a rope or what. So then they discuss and agree that the rope is Vasuki. Now again there is a quarrel on who should hold the head and tail, right? So then they start churning and the rod starts going inside. Again Bhagavan had to come as a turtle and he had to support that, right? So there are a lot of obstacles that come. In fact, they say that first Indra, the Devatas were standing near the head side and the Asuras were standing near the tail side. And Vishnu knew that as it becomes more and more intense, the Vasuki will start spitting out poison from the neck. So the Asuras fought, saying, we want to be near the head. So Vishnu actually helped them by conniving, saying, yes, yes, why don't you come to the other side? Let Asuras go and stand near the face. There is a very interesting story around it, right? So the Samudra Raja gave a lot of things during the Samudra Mathanam, right? And of course, the wonderful things, finally, it culminated in moksha, right? So there were a lot of obstacles in the form of finally the poison, etc. Before they get Amrita, they got Amritam, right? And even what happened was the Devatas themselves got briefly distracted when the poison started coming, right? But then therefore they came back and nothing distracted them after that, and they continued the process until they succeeded, right? So that's why in English there is a proverb: a quitter never wins, a winner never quits, right? When the going gets tough, the tough gets going, right? So perseverance was very important in Samudra Matanam, right? So Vasuki is used for Samudra Matanam, and Vasuki is also famous as what? That is the ornament used by Lord Shiva. Here also it conveys a Vedantic message. A snake represents ego because it always poos poison. So ego is poisonous, producing samsara. Samsara poison is produced by the ego snake. If you know how to handle the poison, then the snake itself can become the ornament also. You need not destroy the snake. You need not throw away the snake. You know how to handle the poison. It is like removing the fang. So defanged snake can become a beautiful ornament. So Lord Shiva is called Nagabharanaha, right? So Nagabharana Shiva. So similarly for moksha, right? You have the ego, right? Don't throw away, right? Ego has got the poison called Ajnanam. Remove the Ajnanam fang, right? And thereafter, a Jnani's Ahankara is so beautiful, right? We see that, right? So the same Ahankara. Therefore, just as a defanged snake can be used as an Abharanam, defanged Ahankara becomes an ornament for a Jnani. Thus, Vasuki is associated with Lord Shiva also. So, Sarpanam Asmi Vasukihi. Right? Continuing. Anantaschasmi Naganam. Anantaschasmi Naganam. Varuno Yadasamaham. Varuno Yadasamaham. Pitrunamariyama chasmi. Pitrunamariyama chasmi. Yamasayamatamaham. Yamasayamatamaham. So Anantaschasmi Nagana refers to another species of snake here. Another species called, this basically the previous one is Sarpaha, right? So Sarpaha is a name of that snake which has got only one hood and which is poisonous, right? Naga refers to those species of snakes which have many hoods and which are non-poisonous. So the first one is Savishaha and second is Avishaha. So two types of snakes, and among those Nagas, multi-hooded ones, I am Anantaha. I am Anantaha, which is the coiled snake used by Lord Vishnu as the spring court, right? So I believe Pujya Swamiji, Dayananda Swamiji used to say the first spring court was invented by Lord Vishnu, right? So philosophically seeing, Ananta means Brahman, right? So Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahman, right? Our nature is also Brahman. The nature of Bhagavan is also Brahman. So Ananta Swarupam is Bhagavan. Bhagavan Swarupam is Anantaha. So by saying Vishnu is resting on Anantaha, the idea is Lord abides in his nature all the time, even though he does various Vyavaharas. What Vyavahara? He actually takes care of Shrishti, Sthiti and Layam, right? But Bhagavan never goes through any stress, right? Because he is abiding in his real self, right? So in the 5th chapter, we are actually studied about, the real nature, etc. We are studying now the 10th chapter. Obviously, we must remember that in and through all transactions, we must remember our higher nature. Do you remember this shloka that we saw? It was Pashyan, Shrinvan, Sprishan, Jigran, Ashnan, Gachan, Shwapan, Shwapan. So later we also saw Navadware Pure Dehi Naiva Kurvanna Karayan, right? Basically, I am in and through all the transactions, but I also stay away without doing anything. I am akarta abhokta. So a jnani is one who is engaged in many activities but is never burdened or affected, right? So Shantakaram Bhujaga Shayanam, right? He is Ananta Shayanaha, right? So generally very calm, right? So in fact, Anantnag is a place in Kashmir, but unfortunately nowadays it is not very calm there, right? That is the problem. So Varuno Yada Samaham, among all the water bodies and the devatas of water bodies, the deities presiding over the water bodies, I am Varuna Devata, right, who presides over the Samudra, right? In the evening Sandhya Vandanam also, right, because the Surya dips into the Samudra, we worship the Lord as Varuna Devata. We say Imam me Varuna Shruti Havamadhya Chamridaya Swam Avas Yurachake. We say this in the evening Sandhya Vandana mantra, right? So, Pitrana Mariyama Chasmi. Among the Pitru Devatas in the celestial higher lokas, right? There are so many lokas. Pitru Loka is one of them where our ancestors go first, right? That's a direct place. After going there alone, according to law of karma, from there they will assemble and they will be sent to the next loka as per the law of karma. And once he becomes a human being, he will come to Chennai or something else, or maybe he can become an animal janma, a buffalo or whatever it is here. But all that happens only after going to Pitruloka. In those Pitrulokas, Devatas are there in charge, and whenever we do Shardam and Tarpanam, directly it is supposed to go to that person in charge. Like letters we post, right? So whatever Shardam and Tarpanam we do, they'll all go there, right? And from there it is distributed to various Pitrus in whichever loka they are. Even if they have had taken birth somewhere else, that Shraddha, Tarpana, etc. will somehow reach. It's a beautiful kind of networking, right? So Swamiji says it's like the Prime Minister's Relief Fund. There is a central relief fund, and from there it will be distributed to people who have had no children also, who have been orphans, etc. Right? So special mantras are there for all those, and when a person does Shraddha, he chants these mantras, right? So here Lord Krishna says, Pitranam Ariyama Asmi. The Ariyama Devata is the head of this very important department, right? So the department which takes care of the offerings from the Shraddam and reaching it to the right people, Ariyama, right? I am Ariyama of amongst Pitrana, right? So Pitrana Ariyama Chasmi Yamaha Samyamatamaham, right? Samyamatam means among those who control the humanity, Samyamanam, disciplining, right? Aham Yamaha Asmi. Even a person who's got maximum arrogance because of youth, wealth, etc., right? Yama will not say, will definitely Yama will say, don't say everything will be all right. A few more years you wait, right? And obviously you will come here. You can't escape me. So Yamadharma Raja knows how to make everyone mellow down, right? So Yamadharma Raja, actually Puji Swamiji says you first get married and 50% you will be okay. But sometime in your life when your children come and they come and they start speaking back to you, right? Talking back, etc. Slowly our own arrogance and ahankara will go away. And as time passes, Kala Tattva goes, right? Then we get more and more, right, worked up towards this, and nobody is going to escape Yamaha. Yamaha Samyamata Maham. Basically, I am Yama amongst the controlling deities, right? So that is what is said here. Continuing, Prahladaschasmi Daityanam, Prahladaschasmi Daityanam, Kalakalayatamaham, Kalakalayatamaham, Mriganam cha mrigendroham, Mriganam cha mrigendroham, Vainateyascha Pakshina. Vainateyascha Pakshina. Prahladashchasmi Daityanam. Daityanam, among the Asuras born in the Asura family, I am the greatest one who is Prahladaha. We all know the story of Prahlada. He is born to Hiranyakashipu, who is a materialistic person or Rakshasa, right? So even the word Hiranyakashipu means the one who has a cot made up of solid gold. So basically, he respected Lakshmi, but he never respected Narayana, the one who values sense pleasure more than anything else, or any other spiritual Ananda, is actually called an Asura, right? So he enjoys using his sense organs. Such a person is Asura. Those who are committed to Artha Kama Purushartha. And all the Asuras and Rakshasas, right, are Artha Kama Pradhana. They are not Dharma Moksha Pradhana. In such a family, Prahlada was born, right? And Daityas mean born to Diti, right? And Prahlada was not influenced by that, and he had a value for Bhagavan and spirituality. In the Bhagavatam, Prahlada's stuti of the Lord, right, is one of the beautiful stutis, right? So there are a whole series of bhaktas, right? Prahlada, Narada, right? Narada only comes number 2. Right? You have Parashara, Pundarika, Vyasa, Ambarisha, Shuka, Shaunaka, Bhishma, Rukmangada, Arjuna, Vasishta, Vibhishanadaya, right? A whole list is there, and we pray in the morning, right? So even though he is born in the Ashura family, we carefully remember Prahlada because of his virtue. So the indirect message is real glory of a person is not based on family or wealth or anything, right? Wherever a great person is there, regardless of these, we respect him. Therefore, Lord Krishna claims, right, I am Ashura Putraha Prahladaha. Prahlada itself is, the meaning is an embodiment of happiness, and he gives happiness wherever he goes, right? So, Daityanam, amongst the Asuras, I am Prahladaha. And then Kalaha Kalayatamaham, right? Kalayata means calculators, right? Kalayati means counting or calculating. Therefore, among the calculators or computers which keep an account of all the jivarashis, right? We have so many karmas, and all of them are, one by one maturing, etc., right? So I am the one who keeps track of the kala, right? Who maintains that, right? The Kala Devata. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, I am that Kala Tattvam, right? That is what we refer in Tamil very frequently as Velai. We say the time is not right, right? The Kala is not right, the Velai is not right, etc., right? So, Kala is the greatest calculator of our karma fructification time, our prarabdha karma fructification time. So, Kalaha Kalayatam aham, right? So, I am that Kala. Mriganam cha Mrigendroham. Among all the wild animals in the forest, I am that majestic Mrigendra, the lion, known for his majesty, right? And a very nice point about Mrigendra is, he is Ekoham, Asahayoham, Krishoham, Aparichada. The lion is great, and it never has these 4 thoughts. Ekoham, right? I am alone. Asahyoham. Asahyoham. Asahyo means I am without help, right? I am lonely. I am without help, right? Krishoham. I am so thin and frail, right? And Aparichida. I don't have a retinue or army of people. I am alone, lonely, right? That helplessness feeling is never there. So Lord Krishna says, I am that majestic Mrigendra, the king of the animals, the lion, right? Similarly, Vainateyascha Pakshinam. Krishna is taking animals to indicate everything is glorious in our tradition. And remember that he is actually going into the 11th chapter, right, where he is going to jump to Vishwarupa Darshanam. So he's slowly introducing these concepts, right? So Krishna is taking animals to indicate everything is glorious in our tradition. Pakshinam madhye, among the birds, I am Vainateyaha, the greatest Garuda. And the glory of Garuda we know from the Puranas, right? And he's got a rare opportunity to be the vehicle of the Lord Narayana himself. Therefore, naturally, Lord Krishna claims, I am Garuda among birds, right? So this is going to continue for another 10 verses. Very interesting Puranic stories also coming up. So we will see verse 31 in the next class, because there are around every one or two of these, I have some interesting stories or anecdotes that we may wish to connect. Right? Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I'll take up the questions now. Yeah. Does the Puranic encyclopedia have an online or PDF version? I actually don't think so. You may have to get it only from Motilal Banarasi Das is what I feel, and it's impossible, I think, to actually scan this at all, because yeah, I think it has over 1500 pages or so, right? So it's a very, very huge voluminous book, but very useful. Any Puranic character you can immediately cross-reference with all the Puranas, right? So, okay, the next one is, as you narrate the story of Samudra Manthan, I seem to connect it with the churning we are all going through owing to the global pandemic, layoffs, etc., wondering where we are headed. Yeah, as we actually are going through the Vibhuti Yoga, and then we are also going into the 11th chapter, which is the Vishwarupa Darshanam, we will actually see that while coronavirus is also a manifestation of the Lord, I'm sure, we have many, doctors, Nobel laureates, etc., who can also find some form of a solution to this. People all over the world are looking at it, and many times in the past this has happened, and we have come out, and the humanity has moved on, right? So we are just going through a difficult time, and I think you're right. Any questions? You can put your hands up. I'm just seeing here. Yes, Vaidyanathan.
Namaskaram. Is that Puranic Encyclopedia by Vetam Mani?
Yes, it is by Vetam Mani. Yes.
Oh, splendid. Okay, great. Okay.
Really.
Yeah, I liked a very few things. Few things which are very important. What struck me was the 10th chapter as a build-up to later the Vishwarupa Darshana is a splendid thing to keep the mind rooted on, actually.
Correct.
And Niti Shatakam on the Niti Shatakam verse was also very timely that you connected. Very made us to, it's like this kind of these kind of reminders reinforce the idea. So that made us wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else has any questions? Very nice. Thank you. Dhanyavadaha. We will meet next week, same time.